And we are live on AUS Property Investors. We bring the big names, and tonight we're going to have fun with Joe and myself. No, I wasn't
big fun. Big fun.
Yeah. Fucking hell, it's hot, man.
How are you,
sweating.
mate?
Oh, geez, I'm just swearing already.
Hot.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm very hot.
Yeah.
Very
Should have
hot
air
day.
conditioners back.
Welcome
Open
to
the thing then. So, how are you going anyway? What's happening, man?
Hey, I'm fantastic. I'm bloody rocking and rolling. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go for this session. This is a solo session with Jeff and I. We don't do these too often. This is the Mario Party session where we look forward. What has 2024 got in store, and what are we going to do differently this year? How are we going to go ahead and buy these properties? How are we going to make sure that we get good deals, and some of the tips and tricks and tactics of things that are going to change for us when we go about purchasing and how we think about it. What about you, mate? How are you?
I'm good. I just want to post. Post this something. There we go. I will do this. I mean, people are rolling in anyway, but I'm fantastic. I'm going really well. Apart from being a little hot, but no, going really well, man. Let's shall we kick on to our content? Actually, no. Screw it. I'll do this during the thing anyway. People are Joe. You're right. You look at you, mate. You're sweaty. No. So what are we talking about this session? What does moves to start your property party in 2024? So things we're going to unpack today. Joe and I were talking to this yesterday. So we're going to look at the admin and ways that you can actually optimize what you're already doing, including things like your property manager, your broker, because these are underrated. And you can, I mean, this sounds a bit sort of spookery, maybe it does, but I'm okay with saying it. You could potentially add sort of tens, maybe hundreds of thousands to your borrowing capacity by doing these kind of things. So I'm not going to throw the word unlimited borrowing capacity out there because that's a no-no. I've already taken it off the what we talk about. And then we talk about the top tips to securing in a hot market, because it is still very hot out there in a lot of Australia. Like it is cooled off a little bit in sort of Sydney and Melbourne, but having said that, it's still sort of pretty fierce. And we're going to talk about deals, which is we're talking about too much, Joe. What are we saying?
I think we're going to talk about too much, but we just want to bring value.
And we're going to wrap up. We're going to
we throw too much at people. We give them too much goods.
Yeah, we're going to climax is a funny way because it is the end of the year. So we're going to finish off. We're going to explode all these things, all these euphemisms. We're diving into an area, and just an area, not necessarily we're saying that you should pile into it. A lot of people talking about it. So we said, let's talk about this area. So you'll have to tune in, stay to the end, and you'll look at, I'll give you a clue. It's in Queensland. So somewhere in Queensland we'll be talking about towards the end of the show. So if people have questions along the way, throw those in, and we'll aim to get to as many as we can. Can't promise we'll answer them all, but we'll do our best. So, Joe, what did I miss?
I don't know. What did you miss, mate? What's your content of the week? What have you been reading that's really jazzing you up currently?
Mate, this guy's quite polarizing, so I thought, why not? Let's bring him onto the show. I'm not going to come on the show. It'd be fun to talk to him. But Grant Cardone, has written a new book. It's called The Wealth Creation Formula. So he has, I think it's 6 steps. I haven't read the whole thing yet. But I heard about it on an interview, and he sort of unpacks the sort of unconventional way of breaking it down and sort of saying you actually need to sort of stop sort of focusing on. He's all about this exponential thinking. So he's sort of saying rather than trying to buy, and a lot of sort of people talk about this days. Benjamin Hardy talk about it as well. But they're sort of saying rather than trying to focus on doing 2 deals, like do 20 deals in the same time and just sort of focus on that bigger goal. Like expand your thinking rather than sort of thinking small. So that's basically the crux of what he's talking about in the wealth creation formula. So that's my content of the week.
Well, he's a man that definitely thinks big. And I've seen it when people think too small. They think, hey, I just need to buy my first property for, $300,000. I just want to dip my toe into the market. And that's exactly what I did. My first purchase was $280,000. It was an absolute dump. Terrible idea. It hasn't grown very well. It has grown. Don't get me wrong. You can't buy it for $280,000 now. But I would have been better served in another location. But my content of the week is someone that we've spoken about before. And I think I've spoken about these numbers previously, but it is pretty much me trying to explain in one chart what the heck is going on and why I am so excited about property in 2024. So
you've done that at everyone. Damn it.
I've added everyone. And I said we would do it once a week, and I've committed to that. So this is yearly supply of property versus demand for Australia. I might just read it for you a little bit here. So the economy needs more immigration, right? We need to bring more people in. We need more Australians to be a part of this fun time. And like a 10-year-old with a slip and slide, we have turned on the immigration tap, and we are bringing in 750,000 more people than we did in the last 5 years. So we're going to need to build more housing. So the previous 5 years, we needed to build 147,000 dwellings. Over the next 5 years, we're going to need to build 227,000. That is a 54% increase every single year. That is 80,000 new dwellings. That is like building a Hobart every single year. So we don't have that. We're not doing that right now. And that's what you're seeing here. Last 5 years, obviously it would have been scattered like this, but just for, I didn't have the time to build out the entire chart with the true numbers. But this is what it looks like over the next 5 years. So demand is well and truly outstripping supply. In 2025, 2026, 2077, will we catch up? Will we catch up to that point? Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to have, this is what market cycles are. People get too excited. We build too many things. We get, holy crap, there's this massive undersupply. And then we pump way too many more. And then we go into a downturn. So you'll see that, I think 2025-ish, we'll start to see that. But this is done, all of this data here is done by this guy called Matusik. He has this blog called Matusik Missive. Throw your email in there. Actually, I'll pop it in the group. Throw your email in there because
we'll have to reach out to him, see if we get him on the show. If anybody knows Michael, I mean, I don't know if you've already tried, Joe, but get
no,
you haven't tried. Not like Louis Christopher, mate. Tried about 10 times. Anyway, we don't talk about the guests we try and reach out to, but no, that's it's very interesting, isn't it? And the other thing that people maybe sort of underestimate, and for any questions about any sort of property related things, people, because we all get to those. We love questions. It gets Joe more excited when you ask questions, particularly about house and land packages in Armidale. He loves those. No, he doesn't. Just to be clear, he does not love those. But no, so the thing about Matusik and the building and the immigration is that people sort of start to buy probably 3 or 4 years after. They don't typically buy sort of straight away. So you're sort of starting to see now what'll potentially happen. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to put my wizard sort of economist hat on, but I'll just say I've heard a lot of talking. Word on the street is that you sort of over in a couple of years' time there'll be even sort of greater potential demand for what's happening. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But I suppose the main constraint I sort of see is yes, you've got all this demand, but if people can't necessarily bring the money, or if they can't get access to borrowing capacity, that's probably going to hold it back slightly. It's not going to say it's going to crash things, but that's going to be probably the main handbrake stopping people. And if anything if they start to release that handbrake a little bit, then geez, who knows what could happen. Could be scary times, which all those people saying about affordable housing now it'll really ramp up if that sort of plays out. But not to say property only goes up, but yeah, interesting sort of demand drivers that are going to come along. So good topic.
I'm excited, mate. I'm excited to talk about an area that a lot of people are interested in. The area that we want to kind of do not too much of a deep dive into is Townsville. So I bet you're hearing a whole heap of stuff about Townsville. We're going to deep dive into that. We're going to talk about the types of assets that you can buy. Anyway, we've banged on enough. Let's jump into this thing and kind of dive deep into it. But before that,
there's nothing worse than going into a situation unprepared, especially when that situation is purchasing one of the most expensive assets of your life against a trained property expert in the form of a real estate agent. It's a scary thought, but it is a skill that can be taught. Do you want to learn how to become fully prepared when buying a property so you can get out there, buy your dream home or investment property without the fear of actually messing it up? Scott Agate, the founder and expert property negotiator at Hello House, has been helping people buy their properties by stepping in and negotiating with the agents and saving his clients tens of thousands, and in some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. Scott has now decided to share all that he's learned over the past 28 years in real estate so you can go out there and do the exact same thing on how to find a property, analyze that property, negotiate on that property, and transact on it to get the best results. He's created the Get Buyer Ready course, which is a step-by-step guide on how you too can become an expert property negotiator. It's the easy way of how you can avoid all of these agent games and get the best purchase price on that dream home or your investment property. The course is in short bites for busy people with no fluff at all. Just all the information you need to get buyer ready and secure that next property with confidence at the best price. Scott has been kind enough to give our community a massive discount with the link below. Sign up today before you even think about putting an offer on that next property, and it will be one of the best decisions you ever make.
Got to actually join. Yeah, that's a very manual. So an interesting. Now that you've the cat is out of the bag. You've mentioned the area, which means that people, I suppose, are good. Let's see. So I'm interested to answer this question. We'll get into a question, then we'll intro who we are. Rebecca asked, "What is the average or even guesstimate of insurance costs for a 500K house in Townsville?" That's always my concern. So you can sort of somewhat estimate it by having
2,000 to 3,000.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. So that is, and the other thing that people talk about with Townsville is the council rates. They say, oh, it's higher, and I'm not saying that it isn't higher, but the thing that people may not factor in, it is higher, yeah. But they do factor in water rates. So I don't know about your water, Joe, but my water's probably, I think it's gone up to like $400 a quarter or something. I think that's how they charge it. So yeah, so 400. You think of that. So you factor in some of that water usage charge in there. So I'm not going to say that that's the reason you should buy there, but another interesting comment. Mate of mine has been buying in Townsville for the last, he liked it so much he moved up there. Jeez, there we go. All these anecdotes.
He liked it so much he moved up there. What a legend. I
Greg,
actually
Greg's friend.
Go, Greg. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, I have so very generic saying $2,000 to $3,000. That's a very fair point. It depends. The answer is it depends, but that's kind of what you should be aiming for. There is Shore Insurance. Not that we're a bloody insurance provider. Shore used to be very competitive. I'm starting to see that their rates are not as good anymore. They might, like, it's just like mortgage broking, right? Their policies change. They start going for this. Amy, I would be checking Shore, Amy, and Suncorp. Those are the three that I use when I'm buying property, and that's what I kind of check out. So I would be aiming to pay $2,000 to $3,000 in insurance, and once it starts to get above $4,000, it's kind of getting a bit unaffordable, and it means that your property is probably in a flood zone, which you definitely need to avoid. Yeah.
There we go. So tonight, let's I'll introduce, for those people who don't know, I've actually got something pre-prepared. So I wrote it out. Wrote it out.
Jesus.
So I've just copied it from a previous session. But for those people who don't know Joe, so he's a accomplished professional with over 13 years, maybe it's 15 years now, probably since I've written this, sales, research, and negotiation experience with prop tech. I'm going to call it prop legal tech, or whatever it is. Active investor with his own. I've just created a new industry. Well done to me. With a multi-million-dollar portfolio, but your passion is about investing, and you look to become a real estate agent, and now you are the co-owner and founder of one of Australia's largest, or probably Australia's largest, I don't know, AUS Property. That's us, and you're head of research, director of Property Principles. I think that's your title, isn't it? What are you, head of research, or what's your title? It's easy, isn't it?
Just
you do
run
something.
the thing, run the business.
Property. Yeah.
Buy property every day. Not every single day. I don't
you do a lot of deals.
Do a lot of deals. I wheel and deal. That's me, mate.
And
who is Jeff Miles? Jeff Miles is the co-founder of Australia's largest property investment forum on Facebook, AUS Property Investors. He is previously a mortgage broker, a man that doesn't mess about. He runs property developments. He does renovations, and he also helps make it happen in the property world. You are property through and through. I didn't prepare anything because I didn't think we were pumping each other's tires up. But I hope your tires are now pumped, mate. You're a very smart boy. You know property in and out. You have spoken to hundreds of investors, and you know your shit when it comes to property investing. So anyway, let's cut to the chase. What are we talking about here? Where's the value?
Yeah, there's value every day of the year in property. But no. So first up, we'll smash through this admin, because although there's a whole, you should absolutely sort of consider these tips. But I wanted to get on board and talk to, and you can sort of share your experience throughout this as well, Joe. But I want to talk to some of the key members of your property team. Which the first one is your mortgage broker. So I think it's probably the most critical person. Some people may argue against that. Some people may say the BA, but I don't know. The BA is only relevant if you can get money, and you can probably do the. I don't think going to a bank is as effective as buying your own property as well. So I think for me, the broker has to be the person. So what can you do in 2024 to help you to continue to optimize your investing, Joe? What do you think are the answers to this question?
I don't know.
Sorry, man. Pretty on the bus. I mean, I could tell you the answers, but maybe you should
Well,
ask me
yeah.
that one.
What is the answers?
So the answers. So first off, because well, you knew one of the answers, that you did it yourself. You do it yourself. But I saw
Once you
this
start
the other
saying it.
day. Yeah, it's actually absolutely contact. If you haven't contacted your lever to the, I don't know about that. That could be a bit dangerous. It's probably Hayden. Sounds like something Hayden would say. He's trolling us. But no. So I saw it in the group the other day. Somebody reduced their interest they're paying by 0.8%, I think it was, or something like that, which is just absolutely amazing, because the amount that could potentially add to your borrowing capacity by reducing how much you're sort of paying. You sort of throw that into the calculator, depending on how much it is. That can really sort of add sort of tens of thousands to your borrowing. So that's probably the easiest. There you go. Sorry.
That's such a massive thing. I got a call actually from CBA. They reached out to me last week saying, Joe, by the way, yeah, we just want to talk about your portfolio and we want to go through everything. And
they didn't ask you to put details into a computer, did they, Joe? They didn't ask you to for your passwords, everything. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Don't check your bank account. You could be in trouble.
No, we did the phone. They have like an app on the phone, and they're like, "Oh, I just sent you a thing on the app." So I was like, "Oh, that's got to be legit." And he's like, "Great, let's just go through your properties and go through the interest rates." And I have I refinanced a property, and I'm paying 7.5% interest. And
Jeez.
I've just been lazy. I just haven't done anything with it. And as I said it, I'm like, man, I've had this for 6 months. Why have I not refinanced it? It's not a problem. I can refinance it. Idiot. What am I doing? That would open up a large amount of borrowing capacity for me. So really, it's just jump on the phone with the lender and have a chat with them. We actually made we made this little thing with Aaron Rybau. I just popped it into the chat there. Scroll down to the bottom, and it's about how to do exactly this. How do you negotiate with the bank to get the absolute best interest rate? So yeah, I need to do that. They called me, but now I've spoken to my broker because the broker can get a better rate for me. So I would do both. Have a chat with the bank direct. Yeah, lazy tax. Yeah, that's a great point. That's exactly what it is. Lazy tax. Don't be lazy. So when you are going off and trying to borrow, get your house in order.
Yeah, that's one of the. Yeah, definitely is, man. I mean, If you're comfortable with doing so, have a chat to your broker and understand what recasting, which we've spoken about this probably a couple of times. It's good to sort of bring up what recasting your loan term means is going from. I'm not saying you should do this, not saying you shouldn't. Go and chat to your broker, all the credit license folks. But let's just say you've had this mortgage for 8 years, you've been paying it down, and you sort of, I mean, maybe interest only for some of it as well. But now you sort of say, okay, great. I want to go and buy my second, my third, my fourth, whatever property you're looking to buy. Go and sort of see, okay, if you reset that to 30 years and say, but still keep the same loan amounts, what that'll drop you. And yes, what that will do though is it will increase the amount of interest you pay over the life of the loan, or probably will, depending on unless you offset it. So it's not all sort of sunshine and rainbows, but you sort of see and look what that can potentially do for your borrowing capacity. That could be the difference between you buying that next property and all that sort of stuff. So I would suggest if you're saying, oh, look, I'm tapped out from borrowing capacity before you go into the next. I mean, that's refinancing, recasting the loan term. Yeah, and you may need to go through a sort of loan application with that as well, which does mean you have to submit paperwork and all this sort of stuff. So it is a bit of effort. You have to do it, but I suppose that's if people want to get get further in their property investing, sometimes you have to do the things that are hard or not hard, but just annoying. So yeah, that's another.
But also, I mean, on the negotiation of your rate side of things, you can just have a conversation with the bank that you're with, which is exactly what that script is we've given you. Or you can just chat to other banks and say, "Hey guys, some people exactly like the finance, the insurance side of things. If they're keen for new people to jump on board, they'll have better incentives for newer people. So you might have a chat with CBA and ANZ, and they might have different rates for you. So yeah, recasting.
I could
That's
go
another
on,
that's a
but
good one.
I think that's
What
probably
else for brokers? What other kind of tips can we do from the broking side? Obviously, reduce your expenses. If you have any credit cards, rather than having a $20,000 limit, I only pay $1,000 every single month, but the bank counts that $20,000 as the usable money that you have got access to. So automatically, that reduces your borrowing capacity by, like, what is it, 1 to 3 or 1 to 4? So if it's $20,000,
something like that.
it's like $80,000 of borrowing that you don't have access to.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I think on that, we'll sort of finish off. The last point I'll say is really sort of get strategic around your sort of lending moving into. It's kind of like when people say they're going to go to the gym and get fit, get financially fit at the start of 2024 and stay financially fit as well. Because the thing what I mean by that, what that looks like in reality, if you've sort of been if you've been sort of spending more towards the back end, just getting Christmas sort of, if you're looking to buy in sort of the first part of 2024, really get strategic around the way you're spending your money. Because if you declare an expensive $2,000 a month or whatever, or 2.5, and you're actually spending sort of 5 or 6, and the bank actually sort of looks through that, they'll say, well, hang on a minute, we're going to apply your spending at this amount rather than the amount you've actually declared. They may do that. So just be cognizant of that, and they can actually look back at least around a month's bank statements and maybe even longer. So really plan. If you're saving up a deposit, make sure you're able to show that there's genuine savings, not just sort of a big lump sum in the bank as well. So there's sort of things.
Someone's jumped in here about car loans. Now, being the ex-broker, I know it's been a little while since you were, but is that the same for car loans as
car
it is
loans,
for credit cards?
Yeah. I mean, car loans, they'll just factor in the monthly repayment. Like, so if you're paying, I don't know, I would see people with a car loan repayment of $800 a month, and that just gets factored in as an expense. So that's probably actually worse than a. So with credit cards, went up from my understanding, and this could have changed, but they would take 3% of the limit. So let's just say you had a 20K credit card, they do 3% of that, which is, let's say, what's that? Maybe it's more than that, $90. Maybe it's more than $90 a month. That doesn't seem right. A bit more than that. No, it's $60 a month. So it would be more than that. Maybe but they would factor in a percentage of how much the credit card limit is. But the car loan, though, literally, that is a repayment. And HEX as well. HEX is another one. That could be an absolute killer. Like if you're earning over a certain amount. So yeah, sit down with your broker and actually get them to factor in, because if you've got cash there.
So how do we know if we've got a good broker? Like, what are some of the things we can get from? Like, what are the questions that I need to ask a broker to find out if they're actually a good one or a bad one? Like an investment savvy, you hear it all the time.
Yeah. So it's more of an art than a science show. I'm not going to say I've cracked the broker code, but for me, I want to understand what they sort of specialize in, like what sort of lending they do, because and a broker will, hopefully most brokers will be upfront and honest about this. Like there's no, like if a broker says, oh yeah, I've helped my clients get sort of portfolios of 5 properties or 10 properties. If they actually have done that, if they haven't done that and they say they're doing it, it'll become apparent very quickly, because they won't be able to, like the type of things that you want to hear them sort of speaking about is they want to you want to talk strategy with them. You want to say, okay, well, which lenders are we going to? Like first off, you go to sort of hardest lenders, to typically the big 4 banks. So they'll say, and if any broker watching this, maybe you could sort of seal this sort of conversation point, and then they'll sort of say, okay, look, then we'll attack the second tier lenders, like your Bank of Queensland's, maybe your Bank West, because they're owned by CBA. Your Macquarie's, which they're kind of first tier, second tier. Your AN's, AMP's, those kind of lenders next up, because they'll have generally sort of better borrowing capacity. So you go to those, and so you sort of want to hear them sort of talking about how they're going to get you to property 3, property 4, and sort of understanding all that sort of thing. And if they can't articulate, I mean, I didn't articulate all that well there, but if they can't articulate that very clearly, how they're going to get you to achieve your goals, then I think they're probably not the broker for you. So they should be able to demonstrate that. That's kind of my key takeaway, key tip.
Yeah. I'd also think about how I found the people. Like, not to say that like we run a Facebook group that's about property investing, right? If there is a broker in there that is constantly commenting and talking about it, like investments and that kind of stuff, they may be someone worthwhile talking to and having an open conversation with. Because there's brokers. My first broker that I ever went to, I didn't end up buying through him, I don't think. Was just it was just a Rams home loan. It was in Cronulla. I walked in. I said, "G'day, how's it going? I want a loan." And he's like, "Oh, mate, I'll talk to all you about investment properties. There's some great ones up here, here, and here." I was like, "Wow, it sounds like you know what you're talking about." And then, he didn't have a clue. Terrible investment advice. And that's actually another point is, some brokers, like, stick to let your experts be the expert in what they're an expert at. There's a lot of people that are like accountants that are like, go ahead and buy this property because it's going to save you on tax and house. It's a great house on land. It's going to give you all this depreciation. It's like, no, that's a terrible investment advice for a lot of people. Some people it does work out for. I'm not, I don't want to disparage, accountants or anything like that, but they're not experts in property investing. Like, go to your broker for broking advice, your accounting for accounting advice, and your legal for legal advice. And all three of them are going to say three different things about it. So it's just trying to marry up the expert with what they're actually an expert in.
We're at 25 minutes, man. You said you weren't going to have enough content, so I was ready to sort of wrap on next topic. So let's quickly get to property managers. I love accountants, but we're going to have an accountant on next week. So he is the accountant to watch, Jeremy Ian Mazzelli. Check him out, or check us out next week. But the property manager. So what sort of things should you be doing with your property manager? Do you want me to sort of talk this as well? Do you want to ask this question to me? Like, how are we running this part of again?
Sure, mate. Sure. How do you choose your property manager? What do you think? How do you think about property managers, mate?
So it's interesting because a lot of people, I've sort of changed my views on this, and because a lot of people used to say, oh yeah, and I used to think it as well, is that you should look at how many properties they're managing. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of common sense, right? Like, if they're managing 200 properties, then they're probably managing too many. Like, you want the number to be less, so they're prioritizing yours. I kind of think if they've got a really sort of solid process, because you could have an average property manager managing 50 properties and just not have really tech-enabled really switched on processes. And somebody who's managing 150, but is very clear and very kind of streamlined and has a great team around them supporting them, I think I would go with that person with 150, but has clear processes, great technology, all that sort of stuff. Whereas the person who's 50 and may not have, maybe sort of still using, I don't know, just emails rather than a Property Me, which is not a great sort of platform anyway, but it's probably better than most. But yeah, so that's kind of the way
everyone's using Property Me now. Like, they're all using Property Me. So
it's got to be something better though, isn't it? Surely.
No, it's shocking. Shocking platform. I mean, it does what it needs to. Very, very basic. I guess they don't need it anymore. But I would kind of push back on that, because I think 150 is about the limit of what you want your property manager to do. Because if someone's managing 200 properties, there's no way you can successfully have a communication with vendors, tenants, and do all of that stuff. So ideally, you would be looking for someone that has a rent roll of less than 150 per person. So if there's 3 people in the business, they've got 450 people. But there will be some admin staff. So there's also like property managers. How many per property manager? And then purely it's just communication. Tell me about this area. What about this suburb? What is the typical demographic for this type of property that I'm looking at? My budget is 400 to 500,000. What would you buy? What type of person would I want to attract? What are the things that I need to add to this property to be able to attract the right people that fit the demographic? Because these people are experts in this area, and if they don't have the answer for you, then you're just wasting your time with them. And then what is your process?
Yeah, I think that's great. The process bit, but I think I pushed back a little bit on the what would you sort of what area would you invest in, or what would you do with my
Yeah,
budget of
true.
400 or 450? But it's more around like what I would ask that. I mean, I think what you probably meant, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, is what would I be expecting in this area, or what would I be looking at with my budget of 450? Like if I'm going to go and look at Rockingham, if I'm going to look at Townsville, if I'm going to look at Geelong, if I'm going to look at these areas, what kind of and that's my budget of 450. So I'm probably going to buy in Corio. What are the tenants likely going to be like in these areas? And use that then as a data point to then correlate. But no, I don't mind. It's a good question to ask to sort of see what they're saying.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't like a lot of good property managers that I know, they just say, I don't know. I don't know the price. I don't know how much the sales is. I don't care about that. What I care about is getting better rents and doing that. So that's a very important thing to chat to. It's like, don't get too hung up on the price side of things of purchasing. That's not their expertise. You've got to become the area expert, and you want to understand the area so you can become an area expert. Say, what are the areas that I should be avoiding? What are the go-to areas, and what are we doing?
And on the optimizing with the property manager, because I promised we'd talk about optimization, and then we'll get on to how to buy in a hot market, because I think that's going to be a juicy and saucy topic. But the thing, I was chatting to a couple of friends, and one in particular sort of said, because I said to him, we were chatting him over a vino or wine or two, maybe a bottle, but we won't. Who's the judge? So what I was saying to him, because he's got a couple of properties, and I said, how's your rental? How's your rents going in this sort of with your investment? And he sort of said, yeah, it's going well. Like, and I said, how much is it renting for? And he said, oh, this amount. And I said, that, and this is in sort of a suburb of Sydney. And I said, that sounds a little bit low. Like, and I thought, I'll jump on realestate.com and just type in the rent sort of section. And fair enough, funny enough, it was probably about $80 to $100. There were similar properties, like many similar properties, not just one or two. We're talking most of them were renting for sort of a good between 60 and $100 more than what my friend was getting rent for. And I just thought, wow, man, like you've really, and because what some property managers may do, and I don't want to, it's a tough job. It's not an easy job. Sometimes you just want to make the job a little easier. They'll simply keep tenant in place to make their, rather than increasing rent to then risk losing that tenant. So that was, rather than rocking the boat, they'll just sort of say, oh, we'll increase it by $20, $30. And I think that could be sort of thousands of dollars over a year that you're missing out on as a landlord, which with rising interest rates, we've had 15 of them now. So in the last, since the first one. So I think it's vital that you sort of understand. So yeah, that's a tip to optimize.
That's a solid tip. Just get on top of the market yourself. I had the same concern actually 2 days ago when I was chatting with the guy, or was whatever it was last week. And I'm like, oh, I haven't been keeping on top of my property. I haven't been keeping on my mortgage rates, and I haven't been keeping on top of my property rentals. And then I went on to the market, had a look at it. No, I can't up it. My rent's already at its highest peak. So yeah, that's another one to kind of stick to. Yeah. And also ask them, will you inspect a property for me? Can you inspect a property? How does that work? Because you're going to be most likely, if you're a property investor, we have a lot of people from Sydney and Melbourne. You're probably not going to be in, what's the chance that the area that you live in right now is the absolute best place to be buying an investment property for your brief right now? It's probably not. So you're going to be interstate, so you're going to need to, be able to inspect a property. So, hey, Mr. Property Manager, what happens? Can you inspect a property for me? But you also have to sell them to say, look, I am ready to buy, which is kind of what we're going to talk to about with deals. What is that? The next topic? What's the next topic, Jeff?
It is, Joe. I was just seeing some of it. There's been some great questions come through. Somebody always told me about what was the Gary using everyone after whining about it. Also, broken link. I just sorry, I'm reading through some of the comments. But Joe, next thing we are going to talk about is top tips for actually securing. Well, you wrote actually securing in a hot market. So I'm going to let you this is your thunder. This is your this is your baby, Joe. So you take the wheel on this one, mate. What are the top tips for securing in a hot market, which is still going to be probably pretty hot in a lot of areas in 2024? So what do we need to do? What moves do we need to make?
Yeah, the market isn't cooling down, and also you don't want to be buying in a market that's at the absolute bottom. So it might be easier to buy a property right now in these bottom markets, but you also want to start to see some demand pushing the prices up. So generally speaking, you're going to be always buying in a market that's got a little bit of heat into it, which is what you want. You want to push those prices. But it's very, very challenging right now. And I see a lot of property investors just give up. Like, I mean, I run the buyer's agency, and I speak to a lot of clients that are like, hey, Joe, we've been listening to AUS Property. We feel like we got a grasp of it, but we just can't buy anything. We haven't got access to any off markets. We haven't got any time. It takes a lot of energy, effort, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, what have you been doing? Well, I just look at the price on real estate and I bid $30,000 less for that. I'm like, well, is it worth that? Well, I don't know. So really, it's getting crystal clear on one, your brief. What is the thing that you're actually going to be able to buy? And even before that, speaking to your broker, speaking to your property manager, well, maybe speaking to your broker, get your finance in line. Have you got pre-approval in place? Because agents do not want to deal with some brand new investor that has no idea or hasn't got finance and hasn't got a clue. So the first thing you say is, hey, my name's Joe. I see you've got a property listed 123 Smith Street. I'm looking at it from an investment perspective. What can you tell me? And then they're going to say one of two things. One, they're going to say, what do you want to know? Which I don't like because that's an open-ended question. But they're good at asking questions. I like it when they say, blah, 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 blah. This property is amazing. This is the best thing ever. All of that kind of stuff. So they then start to talk to why it's such a great investment property. I feel like I've gone off.
No. I think you sort of in anecdotally there is some absolute sort of gold there, because you sort of it's sort of about extracting, and that sounds a funny way of putting it, or understanding or gathering as much information as you can. And I think if you're asking those sort of open questions, and a lot of the time, what you'll sort of find is you'll start to understand or unpack the sort of the story behind the property that you're looking at. And I think that's absolutely vital. You can. I was talking about somebody today. You sort of, it's almost, for me, it feels like a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. Like you and the agent are sort of. I mean, I'm not saying they're not your friend. They're not trying to necessarily help you, but they're trying to find the buyer, and you're trying to buy a property, and you've got sort of pieces of this puzzle. And if you sort of complete that puzzle, for me, that then means you're able to buy the property. So, whereas if you can't find or can't put the pieces together in that puzzle, then somebody else is going to buy that property. Somebody else is going to complete that puzzle, secure and settle on the property. Probably one of the best analogies ever.
I reckon that's your best analogy ever. That's very well played. I think you're not much of an analogy man, but I think you nailed that analogy for sure. But yeah, yes, that was a bit of a backhanded compliment as well, wasn't it? You're shit at analogies, but you pulled out a winner there. No, you're not.
Better.
You're good. Better. That was great. But you need to pull out. You just need to be the easiest person to buy off of, right? The easiest person to buy this product. Right now, there's this many buyers and this many sellers. So they've got 1,000 buyers coming out the wazoo. All they want is a smooth, easy, quick, efficient transaction, right? So you just want to put yourself as that. Hey, my name is Joe. I'm a property investor. I am finance approved and ready to go. So I'll just give you a list of some of the questions that I ask when I'm chatting with an agent. So, hey, you've got this property. Tell me about it. If they don't tell me about it, like, great. Tell me, how much would it rent for? You want to understand the rent. You also want to chat to your property manager after the phone call and ask them what it would rent for, because they're generally two different numbers. What I find is property managers actually underquote the rent. So it might be at a 5.5% yield, but then when you speak to the PM, she's like, no, I'm really good at what I do. I'll get it at 5.8%. That's good. Are there any easements on the property? Is it in a flood zone? Obviously, you're doing these checks yourself. Another question is, while you're having this conversation, you're flicking through all the photos and you say, look, I'm looking at these photos and they're absolutely fantastic. What aren't I seeing? What are some things that I'm going to pick up in an inspection? What aren't I seeing in here? Because I just don't want there to be any surprises. Well, Joe, just telling you, actually, the bathroom tiles are cracked or something like this. The next thing you want to talk about is price. Give me the rundown. What's the price? What's going to buy this thing? Because we want to come in. You want to move fast. So, hey, I've got finance approval. I know how much it rents for. I know the value of this thing. What is actually going to buy? Is it possible to buy this thing today if the right offer came in, if a serious offer came in? What can you tell me? That we want to buy it. How do we buy it today? Is the
Would you
seller
say
ready to
before
sell?
you start talking about price, Joe, would you talk about the how they run their process first, or would you kind of, I mean, they're somewhat interchangeable, but what how do you kind of think about that? Because if you can understand their process, and they say, look, or I suppose if you can buy the property, then you can sort of start to then really talk to Turkey on the price, or you don't you just talk price. You want to understand price anyway, but how do you kind of
Well,
think about that?
Well, I kind of bring it back up a couple of times, the price side of things. So just one, to drop the price. Everyone, that's why we're here. If it's $100,000 less, then I'll buy it, right? Like if it's 50,000, I'll still buy it. So there's just a number that sells it. So it's good just to talk about it. That's what we're here to do. But then yeah, you can then understand their process. So another one, the agent will be like, oh, look, we're only just kind of listing it and just trying to feel it out. Or it says like contact agent. And I'm like, I've contacted the agent. Tell me the price. Oh, it's 600 to 700. Great. Cool. Thank you. Very useless agent. So the question that I pull out is, what's the closest comparable that you have to stack this up against? And they then like, and also you just don't, I felt like I said that very aggressively, but it's like, hey, I mean, you how long have you been an agent for? A while, I imagine. You know the area incredibly well. How much do you think, like, what's the closest comparable that you've seen that has sold recently? And they'll be like, well, there's this one at 540 that has a nicer kitchen. There's this one at 530 that is a lot, in a flood zone. It's this, and this. So we should be expecting, 540 to 550, like that sort of range. And then you can come back around and ask the same question, but in a different way. The next thing is understanding the settlement terms and the terms for the vendor, the terms for the real estate agent, the vendor of what they're selling. So many people undersell and just don't ask about what terms are accepted. They think, hey, we want the quickest settlement possible, or they want, no, for me, I want a 90-day settlement. Well, it doesn't matter what you want. It's about trying, exactly like what Jeff was saying, that those puzzle pieces. 90-day doesn't fit. Move that offer away. 14-day finance doesn't fit. Move it away. So
Make it a 7-day or whatever it is. Yeah, whatever you need to
make it a 7-day. So yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, because it's really it's particularly, I find it's where an owner occupier is selling. That's particularly in the current market where listings are quite low across the country. And I get very interested when not very interested. It sounds really weird, but I get more interested when an agent says to me, oh, it's an owner occupier, because I'm like, okay, cool. Have they sort of what are the next move? Like, what's their plan? Like, and just understand. And some of the times they sort of say, oh, look, they're sort of downsizing, or they're upsizing, or whatever reason. And then you say, okay, cool. They haven't found something yet, so they need a longer settlement. Do they want to rent back? And you can sort of start to say, you can gather these data points that then, if the price is right, then you can sort of really sort of package up your offer and make it the most appealing. Because sometimes then somebody else who doesn't ask that question may then sort of offer 5 or 10K more, but you may actually win. Only God made shit happen in 7 days. But
you say that actually.
Didn't he make it 6 days? And then
and he had to chill. He had to chill.
But
But we got finance in 1 day from what was it, Macquarie? Was it Macquarie?
Yeah. They probably would have got
you
it.
can.
Yeah, because they would have. They have. Man, Macquarie's a smart bank. They're really smart. Like, they've got AI, or not, maybe not AI, but they've got sort of, if you fit their criteria, it flows straight through. If you don't fit it, they decline it. They know and this is where
I know what they want.
You need to know which lenders you're going to and which criteria you fit and which you don't. But Joe,
Yeah.
on to you.
Okay.
So
speed.
Frame it up.
So just to recalibrate this offer thing, speed is the most important thing. You are someone that is finance approved and ready to move fast, and you want to put the pressure on them to say, hey, my name's Joe. I'm a property investor. I'm willing to pay a fair and reasonable price for this property. When can I see it? When can I inspect it? What are the terms that your vendor wants? Well, the vendor wants a 60-day property. Are they open to it? Do they want to rent back? Like, is that going to help like grease the wheels a little bit? Is that going to help things along? Because you're trying to be someone that is giving the vendor what they want. So give them what they want, and then start going back into the price and start drilling down. So great. So if we inspect, so when can we inspect it? Can we inspect it this afternoon? Like I had that conversation today. Great. Can I inspect this property at 4 p.m.? Are you around? Where are you? What are you doing? Let's get this done. You're trying to sell it. I'm trying to buy it. Let's move fast. If you're not comfortable in doing the due diligence, you need to be. You need to be crunching about 100 deals before you find that golden deal. There's typically 3 phases of due diligence. Phase 1 is finding it online, getting some basic information on it. Phase 2 is diving a little bit deeper and doing like some real checks, flood zones, easements, encumbrances, all of that kind of stuff, get the contract. And then the third phase is once you have it under offer, which is your paid due diligence. So you want to have your pest and building go through, but you just like, you should be getting, if you're not putting forward offers, you're not making money. So put forward offers. You're just not going to get away with stupid offers. But have a look at what's sold around the area. And then the other thing, to understand the real purchase price of what a property is worth right now. I think I've said this 100 times. Call up not the agents that are in the sold section. Call up the properties that are under the under offer section, because it takes about 2 to 3 months for those properties to transition into sold. So that is not the real numbers.
7 days. Because as soon as it's under conditional, it's sold.
7 days. Oh, also do a 14-day, do a 7-day finance. And you're going to say, no, Joe, you can't. Your broker will say no. Great. Get the property under contract under 7 days. And then, sorry, guys, the finance isn't through. I'll extend it for another 7. The agent is never going to get a deal under contract and say, well, by the time we list it online and do all of that stuff. So that's not financial advice, but
I'm sort of grimacing a little bit. No, I'm not grimacing. I'm grimacing because there'll be people out there that'll take that, and then the agent will say, well, no, go and get stuff. Like we've got somebody who's a cash buyer now. So yeah, that's why I grimace a little bit at that. But no, I do tend to agree. Like if they're sort of pot committed, and it's probably just harder for them to go to somebody else. So if you sort of say, hey, look, I'm a day or two away from getting this finance, and you actually genuinely think that rather than just saying it, like if you just pull that sort of out of your backside, and then you take 14 more days to get finance, that's really going to piss the agent off. So on that sort of, have you finished, Joe, or should I?
No, you go, man. What are you talking about?
Have a good point. So on that sort of point, the other thing I think that is underrated is actually communicating. And Joe alluded to this, and keeping in touch. Like he alluded to this. He said, look, you've got to sort of move fast and all that sort of stuff. And part of that is actually sort of, if you don't like a property or if you're not going to buy it, actually just have the courtesy to either give them a call or at the very least flick them a text and say, look, sorry for this. I've looked at the comps or whatever. It doesn't stack for me at this one. Let's look at the next one. Like I'm keen to sort of do a deal. Like but at least then they know they're not they're not holding out for you to come back to them. They probably won't anyway. But at least then you kept.
Yeah, no, you just reminded me. I didn't text. An agent gave me an off-market deal, and it didn't stack up. And always reply back, hey, thanks for sending me that. Too expensive. Doesn't fit my brief. Thank you very much. Just respectful, because nothing worse than calling 5, because they're going to have a list of 25 people, and then they call 5 of them. Oh, I'm not interested anymore. Oh, I bought something else. Blah 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 blah. If you just tell them, no, I'm not a lead whatsoever. Oh, thank you so much. Like, great. I'm not going to call you and waste my time on you. So actually, I just broke my own rule. I broke that rule. I need to.
No, you got to it. I reminded you. But no, I think what we're alluding to of all these kind of little tips and moves, as we're sort of saying, is you have to absolutely be prepared. If you're not prepared, then it's going to be increasingly hard, or at least as hard as it was in 2022, 2023 to buy a property. Like you'll be one of those people you're still looking after sort of 2 to 3 to 4, 5 months or whatever it ends up being. Like it is very competitive out there. So you need to sort of think of those 1%ers that are going to be able to get you across the line, and find those sort of gem of deals where you say, look, I got to buy this, and I'm not going to buy this, but I am going to buy this today. I'm going to make it happen. I'm comfortable. Here's my sort of offer. Put it all, make it nice and easy. Put your details in there in an email. And so they can just DocuSign it across to you. You can get it vetted by your conveyancer, line up your conveyancer, get it all sorted before, and think about the process before you do it. Because if you sort of stuff around too much, there's probably already 3 or 4 other people that have already decided they're going to buy that property, and that is first come, first serve, like best in, first come, best dressed kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, if you're easy to deal with, that's what they want. Also, a little trick that I probably don't want to spread around the world too much is not that we do this, but you can get a property under contract at a very attractive price and then go in the pest and building and find some issues. I've done that previously with one of my purchases. It looked, I got an agent walkthrough video, and I always get my own inspections. Like external, you need an external party going in. Do not trust the agent inspection video. But what I did is I got this is my own personal property, so I do take a little bit more risk on things. The agent did the walkthrough, and I was like, perfect. I'll buy this property for, what was it, 310. Done. Here's the contract. I'll sign it. I'll have a 14-day pest and building. And this video just missed all of the bad stuff. So I'm like, hey, I just did the pest and building. You didn't show me this. 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 I want 30,000. This place is a knockdown. I want $30,000 off. And back and forth, back and forth. Anyway, they agreed to the $30,000 off, and we bought it for $280,000. That was that little reno project we spoke about.
Yeah.
But that's because we weren't aware of those things. So you can do those type of things on the pest and building. But if the contract comes back clean and the pest and building report's fine, you obviously can't, negotiate on those things. So don't go in expecting. You should go in expecting zero.
Don't create or don't fabricate issues. I think because that'll just annoy everybody. It'll annoy the vendor, annoy the agent, and it'll probably annoy your conveyancer as well, because then your conveyancer's got to somehow sort of chat to the other side. So everybody will get annoyed, and you will just you'll become public.
Anyone else got any? What else is? What are other people's top tips for buying in a hot market?
And process. Do love some top tips, some TTs.
What are your top tips? Essentially, the way I look at it is the people that's Joe. You mean the agent would just miss the meth lab out the back as a mistake? They're selective recording. Yeah, exactly. It's got commercial on the back. Yeah. So go to the people that supplied the thing, real estate agents. Also, another top tip, know your area. That's a great tip. So you know what stuff is worth. Another thing that I really like to do is go onto real estate, look at the last sold in the last 6 months and filter it by lowest amount of money to largest amount of money. And what you'll start to see is a trend of agents who are not, the cleanest and crispest. They are the ones that are selling the properties cheap. They need to become your best friends. You need to be dealing with the dodgy agents that are a little not as good as the top tier ones, because when you invert it and you look highest to lowest, you'll start to see you'll start to see the same people, and then you'll see the same people in the lower end. So those are the agents that you want. Here's a good tip. Good tip. Just pay them more than others.
Was that a good?
I mean, it's to be honest, it's funny. I talk about that renovation project we did. We bought it for 280. We renovated it, spent 20 grand. It went to 360. It's now worth 550 since 2019. Why didn't I just buy it at 310 and not need the reno? Well, actually, it was Why did I not just buy it at 360 and scrap doing the reno? Right? Like, if you're buying in a good area, you don't really need to do the work. You just need to be buying in a good area that has good fundamentals and is gonna grow. So that's it doesn't have to be a renovation. It doesn't, but it does help you release equity to go again for the next one and move and accelerate your journey. So
another question that we love to ask, Joe, is if you do chat to an agent and they sort of said you sort of decided probably on that call that it's not going to stack or whatever, you say, okay, or even if you decide it does stack, you still ask them, what other properties, what have you got coming up? And now that's like an absolute gold question. Like, it's just the amount of properties you can find by doing that.
Yeah.
And then sort of saying, and then you've already got the jump potentially on other people. And then you sort of, particularly if they're willing to let you know and then sort of get you inspected before it comes to the market. And that way you're sort of understanding, you're getting the jump on, particularly in the hot market. And you sort of say, okay, great, let's tee this up. Let's get it inspected before it even, like, when are you going to market? Like, what's your process? Asking about that one and understanding, because that way you can potentially snag it before. That's what's happening in some parts of Perth, I think. which is why they're selling when they go on the market for 1 hour. It's like under offer after 20 minutes. It's like, oh, geez, well, how did that happen? Who inspected that in 5 minutes? But no.
Yeah, it's relationships. It purely is relationships and being able to move fast. So these agents, and also it's tough, right? Like if you only do one deal, what's the likelihood you're going to become best friends with that agent? Like it's kind of tough. You need to build a good relationship with them. So thank them, be fast and be good. There was one thing that popped up that I obviously we should have noted is time pressure. Put a time limit on your offer. Example, $500,000 till 5 p.m. the next day. So I would say absolutely do that, but don't be silly about it and say, hey, this offer's around until 5 p.m. tomorrow. Oh, okay. Why? Because that's just the way it is. It's ending. Well, how about something a little bit more like, hey, just letting you know, Mr. Agent, it's what day is it? Wednesday today. I'm inspecting a property that's going to open. I'm inspecting a property that's going to market. The agent wants it sold tomorrow, or he's going to take it to market. So I want to buy it before they take it to market. I don't want him to release it tomorrow. So I need to inspect yours today and then be able to get that inspection done. So is that possible? The question to ask as well is this even possible? Like if I put this time pressure to get this inspection done and the vendor wants to see 3 opens, I'm just wasting my time. Don't do it. But that is
Yeah, kind of just sort of making sure that you're very clear what you want to do. Like rather than sort of saying, oh yeah, we'll go inspect it, and then we'll sort of like making it clear that you want to buy this property, and if you can't do that, that's okay. Then you'll put it maybe on the on hold list or the sort of to look at list if you haven't, and even sort of saying, hey, look, like I want to buy your property. However, if I can't buy it in before, I want to make sure I don't want to miss out on the other deal, because if I miss out on the other deal, then who knows where something similar is going to pop up for me in a low listing market. And you don't need to go to that extremity, just kind of short form it. So Joe, what are we going to talk? Where are we going to go next? Are we going to talk to the type of deals, or is there anything we haven't covered in that yet, or what do you think, Joe?
I don't know. I reckon let's talk to the type of deals that are out there. So there are a couple of deals like types of deals for types of people as well. So what we want to chat to is the type of deals that you should expect out there is the set and forget, the ugly duckling, the granny flat type of deals, and then subdivision and development. So how would you describe
what about the renovator's delight?
Well, an ugly duckling and a renovator's delight. An ugly duckling is something, and a renovator's delight, sure. I feel like they kind of two in the same. One is what's the set and forget, and then we'll talk to ugly duckling. How would you describe an ugly set and forget, and who is it for?
So set and forget for me, and I don't know. I haven't defined this clearly in my head, but I'm going to define it on the spot. So please forgive me. But no, so my definition of a set and forget is something that you can move straight in today, and you don't have to do any work on it, and it's going to be sort of something that's not going to require too much maintenance. So I'm not going to. We sort of typically aren't fans of house and land, so brand new packages. You could throw that in there, but I'm going to say something that's really sort of nicely done and is well maintained kind of property. That's not going to need. I'm going to even say it's not even like you don't need to do a paint, you don't need to do a carpet, anything like that. All that's sort of ready. It's sort of schmick, and you're not going to need to do any of that work in the next 3 to 5 years. Have I defined?
I agree.
Describe that.
I reckon. Spot on. This is what I would call a set and forget. It's fabulously styled, which doesn't mean it's a set and forget property, but it's got a new kitchen, relatively new kitchen. It's a move-in ready house. The walls are
except
red.
that old air conditioning in the bedroom. That looks like it's a. If we go back,
the bathroom. That could do with a bit of an update. But this is kind of absolutely nothing that you need to do. What is this? The 3-bed? It's the multi-purpose room because of that. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So this is a prime example of what we would consider a set and forget type of property. That's it.
And do you
Anything
want to
else
talk
add?
about who that's for, I suppose, and what it's sort of?
Oh,
So
good point. Who is it for? It's for people that don't have time, energy, or effort to want to be able to jazz anything up. They just want to get a tenant in, get it rented, move on. You don't want to be dealing with fixing stuff up. So this is an example of a property that we actually bought. We paid in April 2023. We paid $683,000. So now November, it's $760,000. This, I think it was like day it settled. We already lined up a tenant in place, and it worked a treat. We got a tenant in. Nothing else has happened. They are just there doing the capital growth, doing the capital growth thing. There's a little bit of renovation work that you could do, but you don't really need to. It is what it is. Actually, it's listed as a 4-bed, 2-bath, but on there it's got 3. Yeah, nicotine yellow. What else to add to set and forgets?
that's probably about it, really. I mean, probably the main con, or probably who it isn't for. Not to say that you can't, is somebody who sort of really has to see capital growth, or wants to force capital growth, because whilst this originally was the free better, that there was ultimately, I think there was a conversion to a 4-bedder, which is probably why it was listed there as a 4-bed. So there was some value add anyway. That wasn't. It is a set and forget. But I think if somebody wants to be able to extract equity, sort of, and you can extract equity from a buy and hold if you buy well. But somebody who needs to sort of can't rely on the market, or doesn't want to rely on the market, that's not for them. Like, you need to then sort of pick something that needs a renovation, that you can subdivide, that you can. Well, granny flat adds rental value. I don't think it really adds capital growth. Some people argue that it can. I don't really think it does, but we'll agree to disagree with some people on that. But yeah, if you need to sort of, so that's a con, I think, of a set and forget type property. So
Definitely, and I see it all the time where people only have a $80,000 deposit, and then they go and buy a set and forget property, and then they're out of the market. They've got to wait for the organic capital growth. Well, instead, why don't you do something that you can add a little bit of, like, here's an example of what so this is a nice bathroom, but this is kind of an ugly duckling type of property where it's got like a dated kitchen. Let's just pretend these carpets are a bit rough and the walls are a bit rough. It's actually probably not too much of an ugly duckling, but just older, and you need to paint it. You need to do carpets. That's kind of what I would call an ugly duckling, something that just needs a little bit of work. A renovation. Maybe I'll pull up renovation one. Actually, so what's the pros of doing an ugly duckling for you, Jeff? What do you think?
I mean, to me, it means you will need to put money in sort of sooner than later. As in, you could probably rent it for the time being, but once it is vacant, or if it is rented, it's probably fine. But before you move a tenant in, you probably should consider doing some work to it. If you probably don't have to, but you should consider it. So you need to probably budget in. You probably need to do the paint and the carpet at a minimum. So you're probably looking at 10 to 15K, depending on where you are and what kind of stuff you're getting in there. So that's probably the con, is you need to outlay, and you probably need to sort of, if you're actually then, you need to sort of, is the cost justified, or you need to sort of factor that into your sort of buy price as well, I'd say. So that's my sort of con. Like, it's not
and also in hot markets, here's a prime example: cosmetic fixes, paints, carpet, blinds. I think that is probably the best way to describe an ugly duckling. But one thing to be wary of as well is, as markets move and increase and get hotter, the disparity, but because what you want to see is this normal good looking property is 500,000 and ugly ducklings 440. There's a $60,000 difference there. So I spend 20 grand and I get the difference. But as markets, those benefits squeeze, and you can they get closer and closer. So you don't want to overpay for an ugly duckling. It is very easy to do that. A full renovation, this is what we would consider a full renovation, where we're tearing out walls, tearing out kitchens, redoing all of this stuff, new carpets, and that's the paint. And just, there you go, there's a new kitchen actually installed. It's all coming along. It's coming along really nice. But this is a proper renovation. It's going to cost $50,000 to do all of that. But out of that, he's going to go, I don't know. We bought it for 530, put 50 grand in. It'll be worth close to 7. So I'll do that deal every day of the week. But unfortunately, there's not many of them. That's the hard part, finding those damn deals.
You have to sort of understand, yeah, and that's where going back to being prepared. If you're not prepared, you'll just sort of see that and say, oh, look, it's not worth, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Like if you haven't understood what your brief looks like, you just say, oh no, it's too hard, or you haven't thought about, well, can I take on a reno? Because if you can, there's potentially some value to extract from doing a deal like that. But again, you could sort of go into that exact same property and it could end up selling for 600 or 650, and all of a sudden you're sort of thinking you can make money out of it when you're going to be lucky to sort of add at least $1 by doing the reno. So you just need to be mindful. That's probably the big drawback for me of that type of like a renovator's delight. You can potentially overcapitalize and not get your value out.
Another key one actually is knowing where to do it, because there are some regional. We're going to talk to Townsville. Actually, I don't know how we're going to get time to go through it. But the thing is with Townsville, it's incredibly difficult. You cannot do a renovation project in Townsville successfully on budget. It's very hard to get access to those type of trades to be able to affordably do it. So for me,
it's a bit of a shortage.
I'm not doing a lot of shortage of building. I mean, building trades. No one is available because it's just the way it is. So yeah, I would say make sure that you have a chat with the property manager and ask, hey, how easily accessible are these trades? Because I want to actually do this renovation. No, it's going to blow out time-wise. Also, think about the time that you're doing the renovation. Don't do the renovation yourself. Every single day that you have a property not with a tenant.
How's your friend going, Joe? That in your block, is he done yet?
My next door neighbor, it's not done yet. I saw him last week. He said, "No, mate, I'm not done yet," and he hasn't thought about it. Like I was like, "Oh wow, I'm sorry to hear about that." Even more, I think. Like, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry to hear about it." He said, "No, mate, we're just cracking on with it." And I'm like, "Wait, every single day that you're not down there doing the work, you're losing like $200 a day, and that's what you need to be thinking." So $200 if you're not doing anything or nothing's happening. So be organized and organize your trades. Have good to people.
Trades are busy.
It's Christmas. Trades are busy.
Trying to buy the Christmas presents
yeah, exactly. Not disrespecting. They're just not available. So don't go to where people aren't available. Supply and demand. You're going to pay more.
Yeah. We could keep sort of talking deals, but I reckon we'll do you want to sort of articulate a thing that we sort of unpacked last week with Jeremy around Jeremy Shepherd on sort of talking about types of properties to look at and sort of ways to think about that? Do you want to talk to that, and we'll go to an ad and then we'll talk Townsville? How does that sound, Joe?
Oh, let's do it. Well, I guess it's quickly covering off things not to buy. So that's super important. You want to know, like the way I like to think about it is you've got a plate full of everything. Rather than diving head first and trying to find the gem in there, let's first chill out and let's just remove the stuff that's not relevant to us. So for me, no house and lands, no units, no townhouses. That automatically cuts out so many more things off the plate for you to worry about. So one of the things, actually, if you're on here last week, Jeremy Shepherd spoke about it, and he was talking land to asset ratio. So the reason why we always say, great, buy 500 square meters plus is because the land, let's just take all the buildings off an area and you've just got land. The value of the land is created because of the economic activity of the area. So why is Sydney's house prices so much? Why are they, $2-3 million, $5 million? Because the economic activity of Sydney is massive. It creates a large amount of wealth. Why is it $400,000 in Townsville? Well, because their economy is a lot smaller. So the land is a lot less. It hasn't soaked up as much as the value. So if you're going ahead and buying a $600,000 house and land package on a 200, 300 square meter block, that is going to be made up of $200,000 for the land and $400,000 for the house to equal your 600,000. So that's a land to asset ratio of 33%. You've only got $200,000 worth of land value. Let's change that, flip that. You buy a house that has land value of $400,000, but the house is pretty rough and ready. It's only worth $200,000. So that equals $600,000. But it's an 800 square meter block, and that's 66% of land to asset value ratio. Is this making sense so far? I feel like I'm just talking, but
No, it
making
does.
sense?
It does make sense, and then I think the thing that really he articulated it really well. Like a lot of people say, yes, don't buy house and land, and I would say that yes, you
But
can
why?
make money.
Exactly. You can. And same with townhouses, same with units. If you buy a townhouse in Sydney, absolutely you can make money. Can you make money in units? Absolutely you can. But you need to be an expert in that particular field. And is a Sydney unit the absolute best thing to be buying right now? Absolutely not. I don't believe so. But anyway, you've got your $400,000 worth of land. Let's expand that out in 20 years. The buildings are probably worth about the same now. The building on the $400,000 building has depreciated a lot, and the building on your one has depreciated a lot as well. But it's the land that's the most important thing that's grown in value. So your original 200 square meters is worth bugger all, and your 800 square meter block is worth a boatload more. So it then also gives you opportunities to the future to be able to subdivide, to be able to develop, to put granny flats on, to do any of those type of things. So this land to asset ratio, the reason why people bang on about it and the reason why we buy properties that have 500 square meters plus is because we need our land to grow. Yeah, cool. Okay. I want to let's chat a little bit to Townsville, but before we do that, let's dive into this sucker.
Man, pleasing.
The amazing thing with commercial... Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special announcement from the master of commercial property investing, Steve Polisi.
I love commercial property.
Get ready to have your minds blown as Steve is back and he's got some pretty exciting news for us. Steve is unleashing his second sensational book upon the world, and get this, for the AUS Property Investors members out there, he's giving it away absolutely free. Yep, 100% free. Yep, 100% free for all property enthusiasts who want to learn and grow on their commercial property investing journey. But he's also added a little extra chili to make this deal even spicier. With this free book, you'll also receive a complimentary 1-hour strategy session with the man himself. Imagine a full 60 minutes with Steve's commercial and property genius dedicated to helping you master the intricate dance of commercial property investing. And who better to dance with? The man who looked better than Patrick Swayze in Dirty Dancing. I don't know about that. Want to grab this offer? It's super easy. If you're live right now, click the link in the comments and secure it today. If not, grab your device, open up the browser, head over to polisiproperty.com, look for the book page and grab your free copy of Steve's latest masterpiece. And when you're checking out, make sure to use the exclusive code OZPROP to secure the free book and also your free 1-hour strategy session. My only concern with this offer is that Steve's going to have to turn it off soon, as he can only do so many sessions. So if you want to secure your spot, do so today. Oh, nearly passed out there.
Doesn't get funny.
Yeah,
Doesn't get less
that's
funny.
a fun one. So I want to isn't people prefer a nice big house to live compared to old house on big block of land? Is there any data about demand ratio versus for old versus new houses? Oh, that's interesting. That's
Yes,
interesting.
that's a really good question. Yeah, actually, that's a really, really good question. Do people prefer to live in houses that are very nice and brand new? Yeah, absolutely. A house and land package will get more rent, but you're kind of suffering a little bit in rent. So instead of being $600 a week, it'll be $570 a week because it's a 4-bed, 2-bath. The brand new one will get $600. The not brand new one will get $30. So you're losing $30 a week. But in 10 years' time, we're talking, $800,000. And this one's $550,000. So we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference for what will be brand new for 5 years. But after it gets, a few tenants through it, it's gonna be exactly the same as the 20-year-old house. So why sacrifice 30 grand? Why have $30? What would you rather? $30 a week or $100,000 in a year? That's it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd like to. I mean, yeah, it's an interesting kind of academic sort of. It sort of pays the thing that I sort of think about is the land value to me is based on the sort of desirability of the area, whereas the property itself is, as I think you alluded to, in 10 years time it is going to be an older property, and that's going to, like, it's kind of like a car. I mean, you drive the car out a lot. Yes, it's all shiny and bright, and then you sort of then you sort of move, then you sort of drive off the thing, and just loses a lot of its value because it starts to sort of break down. Like, you think in 5 years' time, or 10 years' time, it's probably going to need a repaint. It's going to need a carpet. It's going to need all these things. It's going to look old. It's going to be like that old property anyway. You can, if you really wanted to. I'm not saying people should or they shouldn't. You could always build a nice brand new property on that block of land, on that 800 square meter block of land, and then you're going to have a nice shiny property as well. Whereas if you build a nice brand new property on that 300 square meter land, the land's still going to be 300 square meters. So yeah, I think there are some people that have done some. I think Mike Mortlock. We might have to reach out to Mike on that, because I think he's done some data on it. But he probably has. Like, Mike's done everything. Like, I wouldn't surprise if Mike might beat Elon Musk to Mars. I think maybe I think he's doing it. He's got a secret project. He's learning how to fly. That's where it'll be. But I digress. Townsville, Joe. I want to preface this. Well, I'll preface it. You probably might have anyway. But I think this is an area where a lot of people talk about. We're not necessarily saying that this is a place you should buy or you shouldn't buy. It's up to you. You kind of make your own decisions. I'm not saying, like, if it fits your brief, if it's kind of ticks. There is a lot of interest in this area, so I would sort of, and that's why we thought, there's an opportunity to sort of unpack and go through some examples and talk to, if you're looking to do your own area research, we'll give you a bit of a snapshot of what we've talked about in a couple of live sessions previously. So shall we start, Joe?
Hey, let's start it. Townsville. Why does everyone love Townsville? It is.
Does everybody love Townsville? What are your thoughts on Townsville in the comments?
Throw them in. Townsville, where the hell is it? It's about 1,300 kilometers away north of Brisbane. It is the largest city in Australia north of Brisbane. The median house price, actually, I don't have the top. I think it's like $400,000 for the median house price. Oh, yeah. This is old data. So it's about $400,000. And the data is looking pretty interesting.
When you say median house price of Townsville, like, what is that? Which postcode is that taking it from? Like, how did you? Sorry, Joe, I'm asking a tough question here, mate. I should have asked this before.
Well, I didn't pull up I don't know. It's the answer. I don't know exactly the exact number for what the median house price is.
Because it's like when I look at the median house price at Gladstone, and I'm like, well, I don't look at Gladstone, but I'm just curious. I like to track that market
should be about 360 to 400, around about, depending on the type of asset. Is it a 3-bed? Is it a 4-bed? Is it a 5-bed? Does it have a pool? Is it a high set? Again, the median doesn't matter. So, like, it only matters for the type of asset that you've got. So a 3-bed will be about 380 to 400,000. A 4-bed will be about 400 to 450,000. Why is Townsville so interesting? Because the yields are really, really well. Yeah. So someone's jumped in here, spent a few months in Townsville and Bundaberg this year. Very different areas in Townsville. Yes, that's one big thing as well. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, you have to understand the areas. They're all very, very different. And also there is a lot of flooding. So when it comes to Townsville, make sure you do the Townsville flood map to understand if your area has flooded a lot. The downside, one of the other things with Townsville is population growth. Right now, Townsville's population forecast, it is currently 196,000. Forecast in 2041 is going to be 282,000, which is a 42% increase. So that's 2.1% increase year on year, which is above the Queensland average of 1.9. So that's good to see. We've got more people moving here. You just want to just throw every question at me that I don't have the answer for.
Sorry,
you should. This is from the ABS. The ABS, okay. I think it's the ABS.
No, that sounds good. Sorry, poor Joe.
Townsville has did nothing growth-wise since COVID. Attractive yields. Yeah, this is actually
attractive yields. Good point.
Yeah,
interesting point.
It's a very good point. And this is why we had Jeremy. This is why I really wanted to have Jeremy Shepherd on. Is because, well, Perth has done nothing for the past 15 years, 14 years. But now it's the fastest growing market. So should you be buying in the markets that have already grown? What you tend to see is an aversion to the mean. So as properties grow a lot in value, they're going to not continue to do that. Right, like
Hobart,
you can't continue.
Tasmania, lots of Tassie. Like look at a lot of those markets. Like it's started to go backwards and that sort of thing. But it's close to doubled in 3 to 5 years, 3 or 4 years from sort of 2015 to 2018, 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, again, another interesting information about projects. They have that new Cowboy Stadium. They've got the Hell's Gate Dam that they've been working on. That is 52.2 million. And then it's a 5.35 billion irrigation agricultural power plant as well. And then the Singaporean Army barracks of 2.25 billion, where they're sending people, 14,000 Army forces, to go to Queensland, get trained up for 18 weeks, and then go back. So these little projects starts to add up. A lot of military movement. This is an interesting one as well. A lot of younger people moving to the area, setting up families rather than being Blokesville of the days of old. I've actually got a friend who is the head of data for a prop tech platform. He makes probably 250 grand a year. I don't know, like around about there, 200 to 250. And he's moved up to, I think it's Cairns actually. He's moved up to Cairns, moved up to town because he says, I want to get away. Like there are big hordes of people that have these tech jobs, have these big jobs where they can work from home 100% remotely, and they want to have that lifestyle. So it's good to see people moving out of that. So this is, it's like we just run this session based on the comments. It's fantastic. Some big house and land packages happening as well, especially in Cosgrove. So when there's a lot of population, you do want to be careful of where those people are going. You don't want to be buying on the total outskirts in all these greenfield locations because of this exact reason. These house and land packages are going to get built up, and you're not going to be able to find a good deal because the supply has been the demand has been soaked up by the supply. So buy in areas that are on larger blocks in nicer owner-occupied areas, and you'll have a good tenant because that's where people want to live, and two, you're not going to. There's no more land to build out these house and land packages on to soak up your supply.
Yeah. The and I suppose the thing I sort of see with they don't want to necessarily paint just the rosy picture, because this is the thing we want to keep it as real as we can. I think what we up to you, Joe, in terms of where we go from here. But I reckon I'd love to see some of the data on one of the more talked about sort of suburbs. Starts with a K. If you want to chat to that one, but this suburb, so Kerwin's probably the biggest. But the challenge or some of the sort of downsides or disadvantages is that yes, it does cost more to get insured, which is kind of talks to that point about where it rains a lot. So you just have to be really careful with that and just sort of understand particularly if you're not a local. The other thing that people talk about quite a lot, and even speaking to property managers and all that sort of stuff, you even hear information about this. So you just need to sort of be mindful of this. I'm not saying don't, but is the crime, and there's crime everywhere. So I'm not saying that Townsville is like a crime-ridden sort of place. It's not necessarily, but sometimes there is going to be that sort of crime situation. So it's just understanding the particular pockets that you're looking at and sort of really understanding where you should probably avoid sort of picking up investment property. So they're probably two of the stronger.
Yeah. Massive downside is cyclones and floods of January 2019. So there was a massive event that happened, caused five deaths and $1.24 billion in property loss. So it didn't, like, when you look at the charts and the data for property growth, it didn't actually affect too much. There was a bit of stagnation for a little while, but then it's like people forgot about this. But the thing is, these things are priced in at the council rates. For some reason, the council, it does include water, but it is very expensive, and insurance. So you are getting a higher rent. So you'll buy a $500,000 property and you'll be getting $650, $620 a week rent. I would drop that rent down, $40, $50, just to be like, well, it's not really a 650, it's more like a 600. So it's a 500 purchase, 650, $600 a week rent income, just to soak up some of those costs that you're going to incur. So yes, insurance is higher, but your rent is also higher. But just don't overcapitalize and buy. Like, there was a property that we were looking in a location, and the guy was like, "Cool, yeah, this is 400,000, and it's a 5% yield." And a 5% yield in regional locations like Townsville or Cairns is not very good. It's horrendous. So just be very careful and wary of not wanting to go too crazy. But also has a diverse workforce, right? Like, it's good to see they've got a lot of health and social care, public admin. So it's not just it's just not relying on one industry. It's a massive area.
There's education as well, Joe. Like the James Cook University's up there, and there are some really sort of there's some fantastic sort of schools up there as well. In sort of, and Annandale sort of has some. I think they have 2 or 3 over in there, and it's sort of, that can be a bit of a bottleneck, I hear, as well. Like you sort of you get around sort of school time. But should we look at the data, Joe, or what else? What else do you want to? No, you don't. No, we're looking data.
I didn't have time. I didn't have time to pull the data. So there's no data for you guys.
I want to.
Yeah. There's not time. There's no time for data.
Okay. No data tonight.
No time for it. Sorry, guys. We'll do the data next time. We'll do a proper data deep dive next time on the next one. Where else would people be interested of a data deep dive to go into a little bit, actually? Because what I'm starting to see, this is just anecdotal. I don't have any data to back this up, but I'm seeing a lot of people finding it very challenging to buy in the Perth market, right? Perth has been booming, and it's been booming a long time. And agents and vendors are now starting to realize that, gosh, we can take full advantage of this market and just charge whatever we want. This $500,000 house is going for $560,000 or $600,000, right? So what I'm starting to see is investors are getting sick of missing out in Perth. They put 5 offers on, and they're like, screw it, I'll get a good yield. I'm going to go to these more regional places like Rockhampton, Gladstone, Townsville, Cairns. Not saying whether you should or shouldn't buy in those areas, but that's kind of what I'm starting to see a shift in. Yeah.
Is Perth a thing? What does that even mean? Like, is Perth a thing? Elaborate, Brendan. Let us know.
Brendan, is Perth even a place?
Yeah, Brendan Kroll.
It is a place. Yeah. Any other questions we should answer on here, young Jeff?
Here we go. I want to unpack. Will affordability and rents change mine? What if the state government's created projects that drove jobs? Was this specifically? Who was this? Who's this from? This is from.
Will affordability and rents change mine?
This is Brendan Kroll again. So,
it's a good question.
Yeah, this is actually in reference to Darwin. So
How is that?
I'm gonna throw it out there. I've not been to Darwin and I've not looked at it as a property market. So if somebody knows a Darwin property, I mean, I don't know, do we do a session on Darwin, Joe? Maybe we should talk about it offline. But
No,
I,
it's
I
like a
want
small. It's like
the
a,
thing
it's
I'm
like a small. It's a very small town.
well, I don't know.
Very
Is
small
it? But
town.
it's like 200,000 people. I don't think it's that small. Like it's kind of It's the size of Geelong and almost close to Wollongong, which we know Wollongong's pretty much close to being king. It's like King Junior after Sydney. But no, a little bias there. Thing I'm loving though is the amount of posts that we're seeing on people that are executing on deals and they bought sort of 2 or 3 or 4 properties, and it's really heartening to see that in sort of, yes, interest rates have gone up and hopefully they've factored that all in. But it's just good to see that people are sort of taking action. And I suppose you want to sort of make sure you're doing that. But what areas are people sort of seeing? What are people seeing? Where are they going to be looking in 2024? Like, where are people making moves in 20? That's what I want to see. Thoughts
So,
on
what are your
getting
thoughts?
IPs in Victoria?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on
Should we
that?
save it
What are
to
your
next
thoughts
week?
on? Maybe we save it to next week. But I think Victoria is at the bottom of the market, or getting very close to the bottom of the market. Of if you've got a long term position, I think there's some really good. Like I'm seeing properties that were once $700,000 are now $500,000. There is a lot of negative cash flow, and you're going to hold them for a long time. But if it's gone from 500 to 700, or 500 to, or it's gone from 700, sorry, it's at 700 and it was a mill. Like there's almost guarantee $300,000 there for future.
Maybe not guaranteed. There's no guarantees. We didn't. I mean, it could. Yeah, there's opportunity. We'll put it that way. But the thing I'd even say in the next 3 to 5 years. So Victoria land tax coming next year. That's an extra
That's true.
$1,000.
You definitely, it's exactly each property as well. So I don't think it's going to boom anytime soon. But this is just affecting investors, right? So that's 30% of the market. What about owner occupiers and things like that? So anyway, interesting.
I think the because the other interesting thing, like the amount of people that said, I just think, well, what is? I mean, I haven't looked at the economy sort of economic numbers for Victoria, but you just look at the amount of sort of people that are moving to Australia that are going to need to buy, and the amount of sort of popularity. I think there's something, if as long as you don't need to see Perth-like growth next year. So I like Victoria, but the one
Yeah.
state that I'm not so confident on, apart from Darwin, because I don't really haven't looked at it, is Tassie. I just think Tassie, like what's going to go down in
You're
Tassie?
bullish on
apart
Tally.
from no. I
No, okay.
I'm not confident on all at it, because I just think
No.
prices ran up quite a lot, and I think that will sort of. But yeah, not predict. Somebody talking about, look at Toowoomba, Queensland. We didn't do a deep dive on that, did we, Joe?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
But
I reckon, are there any other questions we haven't
there were
hit?
some good ones. Like we'll talk about the darling. I want to talk about this show. What do you think about? What do you see? How much will Perth market rise in the next 2 to 3 years? And my answer to that is there's not one Perth market. Like you start to look at. There's a couple. I would segment Perth into a couple of. I'd segment it into the more sort of affordable sort of pockets, as in your previously more affordable, like your Rockingham, your kind of Gosnells. Everybody loves Gosnells. Talk about it, like particularly Tommy Newham. He loves talking about that areas. And you sort of talk about north of the river. You sort of your parts like your sort of Craigan, your Craigie, your Belden, your Heathridge. I think they may perform slightly differently. I think next year is probably still going to be great for Perth, but I would sort of start to say it may start to slow down in 2025. So I think a lot of I'm not to say you can't grow another 30%, but I just think you're starting to sort of see that it can only continue for so long, and it's been going for roughly 3 years now. So
Yeah,
you're looking
I think
at the state of the. Oh, we got Matuzik again.
This is Matuzik again. But look how much supply there is available in these states. And it's kind of interesting to see
When was
which
this?
markets are moving. So this was
2022.
July 2022. Actually, I think it's been between. Okay, so cool. So this is a little outdated. But look at the months of supply that are left in these markets. Sydney, there's so population growth, housing demand, dwelling approvals, how many properties approved, and then their supply status, and then how many months of supply is left before you can soak it up. These markets like Perth, Hobart, and Adelaide and Brisbane are and Darwin, actually. Darwin is very well undersupplied. What's going on? The big capitals, Melbourne, Sydney, and Canberra, they're building a lot of units, they're building a lot of townhouses, they're building a lot of dwellings, and these areas are not undersupplied. So it's these type of markets that I would be looking at. And I just keep top of mind. What is the population growth? What is the housing demand? What are the approvals coming on? And that's just going to be some basic supply and demand checks. WA
The thing
is
that
not
I would
building enough
say about
properties.
this, though, this is only new properties. So, I mean, it depends on, yeah, it's one, it is something to take it. But if you look at that, you'd sort of say, well, why isn't Darwin potentially going to absolutely skyrocket? But then the question is, well, what is bringing people up that or pulling people to that location? You tend to look at yes, may not be a lot of supply. Let's see what else we got. We'll get rid of that one. And
what can be done about the credit score? What credit score agency is most commonly used? So this was back when we were talking about broking stuff.
Yeah. So we actually did sorry.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? Had that lady on.
Did a section with Kitty, and she sort of spoke more about if you're credit impaired. But I suppose the thing, like, I haven't Equifax, which I think got turned into, they did change the name. That's the main sort of, they changed the name. What can be done about the credit score? It's just to make sure that you're doing all the sort of smart, common sense things, like making your payments on time, like making sure that you're getting, like, chatting to your broker and getting that credit file looked at. Because if you've got something, even if you may not have a late, you may not know that you have a late payment, and that could be impacting your credit score. So, like, really diving deep and sort of cleaning it up, and ways you can do that is you can actually go and challenge if you paid a phone bill but it's been marked as late, or you've had a default on it. Yeah, you just want to make sure that all that's being cleaned up, because if you're not, then that can significantly negatively impacts your credit score, and make it really hard to borrow as well. Like, it just mean that you're wiping out sort of 70-80% of lenders might not touch you if you've got something in your credit file. So really, really sort of
Super
important
interesting.
question for 2024.
Another great broker question for you. What are the risks of cross collateralization, and how does this help or hinder me in the future? So how would you describe cross collateralization?
Say it 10 times fast. Cross collateralization. I can't say it more than twice. But no. So the simplest way,
more than once.
Yeah, I said it twice. Bring up a graph, Joe, because I don't want to have to try and. It's easier just to bring up, like, if you could quickly. I don't want to talk. I mean, I can talk to it, but it's basically where you've got. Let's just imagine you've got 2 or 3 investment properties. Typically, the way a bank will, if you go straight to a bank, and even some brokers, so be mindful of this. Let's just say you've got your owner occupied property and you're pulling equity out of that and going with the same bank. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, they'll use the same. They'll secure the second property with the first property. So they're all sort of tied in. They're lumped in together to then sort of potentially save on LMI and that sort of thing. That's the benefit people say, and you don't necessarily even need to do that. So you're sort of then lumping all your property loans together in one sort of neat package. Which the big risk of that, imagine if you buy, like, property doesn't always go up. It doesn't always go up. Let's just say you buy hopefully, I don't know anybody in this group buys a dud or a lemon. And then in 3 years' time, you go to say, oh, look, I want to go and buy another property. I've got 500,000 equity in my principal place of residence. Now I'm going to come and pull some equity. And you go to the bank or you go to your broker and they say, well, actually, no, the value of your portfolio, you're actually sitting at about an 80 or a 90% LVR. Because you've got this other asset. You might have bought a unit somewhere in Melbourne in Docklands, which hopefully not going to do that. And it's sort of sitting at what it's worth. And now you sort of LVR over the top. And they say, well, you don't have, if you want to extract, you're not able to sort of extract equity from that. So it could just cause a lot of issues down the track. If you ever have to default, like they may be able to sell that other property. But the other thing to keep in mind is the all monies clause as well, which may sort of entangle you anyway.
Yeah, there's no way around. You can't escape the debt. But in the big concern here, so the opportunity is, what are the pros of it? It can access you can get access to some more lending with it. There can be better favorable terms, because what are banks scared of? They're scared of risk. So if they can tie up your principal place of residence and your investment property together into one loan, and they guarantee, they're the ones that control how much you get in and out, then absolutely they'll take on a little bit more risk, because they've got more collateral against that, which is why it's called cross collateralization. But really, it's just, if this property is worth $1 million and goes up to $1.5 million, and this property drops in value, you can't pull out. It's like you can't pull out the difference like you would normally do. You just go, great, I've got $500,000 here. No, but this property's dropped down in value because you're in a different market, you're in a different cycle, you're not getting the value. So yeah, I think there's value to it. Is there any other benefits to cross collateralization? Yeah.
Not really many. I don't think there's too many. It just, how to draw equity and avoid cross collateralization. You simply just ask. You say, hey, look, I want this to be a standalone loan. Just ask that, and make sure that like, you need to really check your loan documentation when you sign those loan docs as well. You need to confirm that that is what the way that it's been arranged. So if you don't, if you're going to try and, just make sure you're asking your broker that it's not, that it is a separate loan, that it's not, because if you don't ask, and you go into the same bank, they probably will automatically cross collateralize it, just because
it's just de-risking. It's just a de-risk.
Yeah, they're looking out for their own.
For them. And this, it's like they're like trying to be like a octopus. They're trying to get their tentacles on all the different assets that you have. If they can tie it all into one, happy days. If there's no difference in outcome, why not avoid?
Well, there is a difference, as I've just pointed to, because the key difference is you're tying yourself to that one thing, whereas otherwise, if you then decide down the track, the main thing is that not cross collateralizing gives you a lot more flexibility. Because if you decide down the track you want to refinance all of your portfolio, let's just say you with CBA, you want to go across the NAB, and then CBA says, "Hang on a minute, we've got 3 properties, they're all linked together. Yeah, sure, you've got 500K equity in one. These other ones, they've actually gone backwards. So you actually don't have a lot of equity. Whereas if you don't have, it gives you greater flexibility not having them tied together, bunching them all together."
So why would you cross, I guess, is the question. The reason why you would cross
for potentially a better deal, maybe avoid LMI, because which you can still avoid that stuff anyway.
Well, yeah.
There's not really, This is an interesting one. Bustleton Bunbury. Joe, can we do a deep dive on that one? Are you gonna can you fly?
Let's do a Bustleton, but I gotta go to Bunbury though. Got to do boots on the ground in old Bunno.
Is it a big enough area though? Like how big a population are we going to be able to cover a session for 2 hours to talk about Bunbury? I don't know. Is this going to be like an hour session?
I doubt it.
I'm sure
I doubt it, mate. The way we are. Well, okay, cool. Well, let's wrap this sucker up. I hope that was valuable for people. That was good. Thanks, mate.
Maybe we need to get a broker on to talk about cross collateralization. Like, maybe we need to do a session on that. It seems like there's a lot. Like, actually, like, is it the devil, or is it is it a wolf in sheep's clothing? Can you have a standalone with the same bank? You have 2 properties. Just ask.
Yes.
Yeah, ask them for not. Yeah, ask the question.
You have to specifically ask them not to cross collateralize. Just you have to say don't cross collateralize it, because they will, because it's de-risking their investment. Okay. That was good. That was a good session. I hope people got value out of that. If you did, congratulations. That was free. Good on you. That's good. I'm glad we provided some value.
Let us know when you go and execute some of the stuff and do a post, because I read those.
Yes.
It actually makes me.
Yeah, that was so awesome. Yeah, there was that person that did. What did they say? I bought 3 properties, and the group helped get the basics. I've gone ahead and bought 3. I'm now open to buy. I'm ready to buy 5 to 7 next year. What an animal. What an absolute savage. Good job
in a good way,
making
in a
it
good
happen.
way, not a bad way.
Good
'Cause love
savage.
animals, so, yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
love it, Joe.
Just-
Thank you for being the mustached member of Oz Prop, because I can't really grow one. So, well done. Let's wrap it up, mate. Let's go.
All right. Let's go buy a property. See you later. Have a good day and a night. Bye.
Have a good rest of 2023 and 2024.